Hi folks, welcome to the Team Regionals final. So we have a last minute recording of this game that is not getting streamed, and this is game 2 of the final between Superduck and Derbo, and I can tell you that the Chinese team, old Nanjing, won the first one, so they have a match point here. If they win this one, the tournament is over. Unfortunately, we don't have time to look at the decks. It is open deck lists, of course, once again, so I will try to give you some information about the decks over the course of the tournament, over the course of the game, if I can. And how is it going? So Greyjoy Fealty, played by Christian, starting with some of its most prominent cards. We have Victorian, unfortunately for him, not any warships at the moment, although Pike is of course in play with Ambush for all the warships in hand. And on the other side we have Tyrell Lion, played by Superduck, with the Knight of Flowers in play, nothing in shadows. And yeah, 2 knights currently on the board. We'll need some more. And starting with Late Summer Fist, so giving some cards away here. And Red Keep, which promises to be useful, of course. It can cancel the Pike triggers. And yeah, Victorian limit twice, so can't really cancel him altogether. But maybe until we get a good number of warships, it could be decent enough. Difficult to find the Greyjoy Fealty deck because the spreadsheet that Zini has is all wrong, so apologies for that. I'll just dig for it in one of the earlier rounds. Here we go. Yeah, so that's a deck that plays 2 copies of Brand the Builder to find those cards, of course, that Pike can put into play. And plays Morgulis as the reset, which is bound to make a difference in this game, because the Tyrell Lion deck will try to get renown on characters. And what can the other deck do? Let's see. Yeah, Tourney for the King is the closer there. So once a good number of knights enters play, possibly with that green apple knight as well that doesn't need to attack, then the power gain could be really quick, and Morgulis will be important. And there is Political Disaster in the deck as well. Pike is duped, and the other warships, a lot of them only 1 copy in the deck, so Political Disaster at some point will hurt. Now let's concentrate on the game. So we have Brand the Builder for Greyjoy, and we have the Father for Tyrell. Yeah, so we saw that in one of the earlier rounds when we recorded Superduck's game, that the Father was a key plot. I think was it against Greyjoy that time as well that we saw it, and there was a pinch of powder and the Father targeting the Reader and Victorian, I think, in that game. And it's yeah, going to do the same here if Victorian is not duped. He can be marshaled again, but it's quite a tempo hit. And targeting dupes also useful for this deck because it plays Morghulis itself and Dohaeris, so interesting. Those two resets plus the father and political disaster, so a lot of tools to disrupt the opponent, even though it basically rushes to victory with the renown on knights. And now the passive power with Old Town as well. Yeah, just triggered. Of course, Old Town under City can set that up for this deck. And yeah, leaving it late always risks Victarion nailing it in the challenges phase. Now let's see if something prominent comes into play here. Something, for instance, that would make the choice for the father a little more difficult. Alright, the Meister has things to do here with Red Keep and Old Town in play. Okay. Slightly unusual timing during the marshalling phase. And we have Wax Pike. What can he do? Nothing at the moment since he has no gold. I don't think Greyjoy decks that are being played now even bother really with his ability. It's just there for the icons on a cheap character. And interesting, so Nightmares played on Victarion, even though the father could potentially get rid of him this round. Not on Pike, and there is 3 gold, so there could be a card in hand, and there could be something found with Brand the Builder. Red Keep still available, but then we have the Meister to cancel it. Unopposed. Let's see if there are any surprises. There's no poison coin in the deck. And yeah, left hand Lucas Cod. So he could have been marshaled with the gold that is available. So I'm guessing Christian plans to spend this gold with Pike. Big challenge trying to get around Victarion, so this could be currently one on defense if the Iron Fleet Scout is used, but probably not worth bothering with that because yeah, if the Red Keep cancels Iron Fleet Scout or if there is any strength boost on the other side, it's not going to work. And no penalty for leaving this one unopposed. In theory, of course, pinch of powder. is annoying. Yeah, repeatable pinch we saw in the game that we recorded with this deck in one of the earlier rounds. I think Intrigue Challenge was the weak one for the opponent on that occasion. And it could be here as well with Greyjoy, although currently there's nothing big in play for Superduck with an Intrigue icon. There is also a copy of Varys, the one that kills characters with power, in the deck, so a lot of interesting cards that can disrupt the Greyjoy strategy, and I think it's going to be tough. Board is knelt out, so let's see if Superduck just concedes 3 challenges here. That will hurt as well. Will immediately level the score and enable some random builder triggers. But there we are, so getting some gold, and now what can be done with this gold? One card in shadows. Is there any ambush? None that I can see. And Orbitbone can defend this. Needing the faction card probably less important. But of course there is the stand for the Knight of Flowers. Yeah, once this Old Town Undercity starts working every round, you get a constant source of cards, and you can filter the best ones, the ones that you need. And of course the card that stays on top of the deck is not just something that you plan to draw. You can interact with it, whether it's Old Town or Sir Mark Mullendor or something like that. Boros, I guess, also to give him a guaranteed target. Okay, so Orbitbone doesn't defend this one, and what do we have here in the reaction window? Brand the Builder finds Refurbished Hulk, which can be put into play for 1. Equal or lower printed cost. Okay, so you put that into play. Of course you need the Meister to cancel Red Keep. You can target a 2-cost character, but yeah, putting cards on top of the deck, putting something like Penny or Orbitbone on top of the deck, it's not doing a huge amount of work really. And yeah, the locations won't really work here. If you could get rid of Old Town, but that's loyal. And you still need to follow it up with Pillage, and this deck doesn't really try to do that. So it's just there to reduce the board basically. Maiden's Bane is the other one. That's also a 2-coster. And now presumably it will be something will come into play. Otherwise the gold is wasted. Can get rid of both unique characters, that would be interesting. Because then the father wouldn't have to take the Knight of Flowers back to hand. Maybe even Christian had half an eye on that before Old Bill Bone came into play. Of course that means that Hedge Knight needs to be claimed here. Well, Hedge Knight claimed, Penny returned to hand, and Knight of Flowers marched. And there is a march to the wall, so this will backfire pretty badly for Superduck if this is the sequence that happens. There was a lot of board there. And yeah, so power challenge with Victorian, right? Which means at that point the Knight of Flowers could have defended himself in the military. Now let's see what happens here. Is there any value in choosing the Knight of Flowers to go to hand? And then just going for Morghulis against 5 cards in hand. Or do you take Penny? You know that March is the plot you need to play around or counter to the best of your ability. And the counter, what could that be? I guess economy or a political disaster. Okay, chooses Penny. So no Morghulis here, obviously, because you wouldn't take Victorian to hand if you plan to do that. Yeah, things have turned around pretty quickly in this round with that father. Definitely did not help Superduck. It looked like it would. But now Greyjoy's plan is working. There is no threat of quick power gain with Turney. And both players still with the resets. And the hand's not that big, so with 1 card in play and 5 in hand, and we know one of them is Penny, I guess. Well, you can repopulate some, so if you play Late Summer Fist and you have Penny and, for instance, 2 or 3 knights, still decent. And Penny is the one that goes for reserve. Okay, so that's not necessarily a bad sign, so that means that the rest of the hand is good. And we know that here comes High Tower Knight, so we know that something like Boros, of course, comes with another card. So you can get a decent board for pretty cheap. Of course, the Greyjoy deck does play 3 Drowned God Fanatics, so that's another thing that could be problematic on the big triggers. And okay, marching the Knight of Flowers here, no surprise. And probably the eager deckhand, right? Or maybe you keep that because forced march is a plot. So forced march into tourney, for instance, would be good, and you need the military icons. So going for the reducer instead. Of course, the other thing here is that you have your Victarion now in hand, and political disaster at some point is going to happen. So you have to accept that there won't be $1 million gold to spend. So that little reducer could have made a difference. And yeah, the Meister, of course, that's staying because of the red keep now. Immediately going for all with bone. Fax economy because Fealty could have been used. So Superduck is not going to play without a board here and then go for Morgulis with Light Summer Fist. He's going to try to re-establish a big board and go for the tourney, I think. Question is, what else do we see here? So we haven't had a chance to look at the decks in detail before the start of the game because this was unscheduled really, this recording, but I will put the links in the description of the video so you can examine them yourself before the game. Red Wine Straits, another card that is good for PD, but no dupes. So against political disaster you would keep the Arbor and Red Wine Straits and this Undercity, for instance. Yeah, not fun losing Dreadkeep and Old Town in that scenario. Okay, gold is left, but only one card in shadows. We know that that knight is in hand, and on the other side we know that there is still a Maiden's Bane. And now with Meister more and more cancelling the red keep, yeah, that could again remove defenders on the challenges. So Greyjoy doing well, not quick to gain power, of course. So I think this will be one of those games where we see the reset plots being played. The players probably will not be able to avoid that. And is this going to be Victarion, or is Christian just going for the smaller characters? Victarion with 1 gold left, which is enough for Pike to put in Maiden's Bane. Of course, every warship is reduced by 1. So Pike is just on everything that it does, it's pretty efficient. Reduces by 1 targets equal and lower cost, and it triggers from itself. So I think one of those 3 things being nerfed and removed would have made it a less problematic card. Of course, it is restricted. I think if it was slightly weaker, it would have survived without entering the restricted list. Now, the Guild Hall Yeah, that's alright. That cancels Meister, more and more it cancels Victarion. However, that means that the card in Shadows was not a character, and it's going to be a tough round for Superduck because the challenges will go through. Was there really a point in playing that through Shadows? Costs additional gold. Gets you the old on trigger, but what is this 4 gold going to be used for now? It's round 3 and half the game already over as well. 21 minutes remaining. It's not the kind of matchup where you would expect players failing to get to 15 power before time expires. Yeah, so this is where, of course, the open deck lists are important. So you see 4 gold, you see an empty board, and so what is there in hand that can mess up just doing your challenges for free here. Boros, of course, doesn't need to come through Shadows, he has Ambush. And Balerion the cat has Ambush. The Hound, the Forecaster doesn't. It's the one that returns knights to hand. Doesn't have much to do in this matchup for the opponent, so it's only used on your own guys, and that's as good as anything, returning Boros, for instance. I think that's pretty much it. There's no other surprises that can come in from the hand, but if it is Boros, of course, he can bring a big body with him, so. But then I think just marshalling the guild hall and playing Boros, putting Boros into Shadows for that ult-on trigger would have been the play. I think we'll see quite quickly. Now does Maiden's Bane try to... No? Doesn't care about unopposed, he's going to die anyway. So better in the dead pile than return to hand. And here come the other 2 challenges, I guess, and if Superduck wants to defend them, then of course Lightsummer Fist will be giving cards away. It's not looking likely at the moment. Knight of Flowers. Important card. Good hit. 4 gold is left. So yeah, keep focusing on that, because it's just surprising to leave it, because these cards do have shadows, so you could just marshal them into shadows if there's nothing else to be done with them. That was my thinking. There's no exposed duplicity or anything like that, so save you some gold. Next round, and there's no barring. There is still time to turn it around now. Morgulis, and have a quick quiet round where nothing happens, then you marshal your stuff. Opponent in an ideal scenario doesn't have much, but there is 6 cards in hand, and yeah, Christian has presumably shown some restraint here and kept some characters in hand that he can marshal if Superduck is forced into the Morgulis play. into counting coppers. Now you could go first to try to grab a reason. The downside, of course, is that it's a low econ plot. But yeah, there is nothing else in the deck with ending high. The maiden is 6, and then there's nothing more than 5. I think is Brand Builder, right? Yeah. So I couldn't have played Late Summer Feast to repopulate here. And doesn't find the reason. But he does have a full hand, so let's see. Let's see this. So 2 gold, 3 with Fealty, and then we have how many locations? 4, so 7 gold to spend basically. And on the other side we have 8 gold and no claim. So board state should be comparable, I think. Okay, King's Road, no way to cancel it with the red keep. There is no gold. And Silence and Screw, decent body. Now is it going to be bestowed, or does Christian have more cards in hand? Advisor to the Crown. Interesting one. Not really focusing on Meisters in this deck, but I guess it's good for setups. And there is 3 Barons and 3 Urons, so getting 1 costers to be that you can set up with the 7 coster is pretty useful. Keeps 2 gold. We know there is a Maiden's Bane. Oh, and this is not looking good. What's going on here? Returning Guildhall to Shadows and bringing it back just to get the Old Town trigger. The Undercity trigger. Remember a few rounds ago when Penny was discarded for reserve and I said the rest of the hand must be pretty decent then. And now we're seeing these struggles to put anything into play. Seems unusual in hindsight to discard that cheap character, and last round as well, with gold still remaining, and we see Knight of Flowers being discarded from hand when he could have been in Shadows. Now digging for Boros, obviously. Here could still save the game. Gold now spent though, so no red keep and no surprise Boros unless we see... What could we see? So the Iron Bank will have its due, Niels the faction card. Is there another way to gain gold? I don't think so. No great Kraken in hand. Otherwise that might have come in for these unopposed challenges. And losing green Apple Knight. Yeah, that night rush is looking unlikely to happen now. But interesting, so that's costs 3, and we saw 2 gold spent on the guild hall and 2 on Hollow Hill, so could have had a character instead. Yeah. Getting everything now that the red keep is not able to cancel, so guild hall works on characters, and it's just targeted by Pike, and can't cancel the eager deckhand that comes in for free. Very nicely done. And up to 11, and should be up to 12 power now. Let's see the Hollow Hill. Missed. Let's see if this tieback is allowed. I think it probably will be with 12-4. I think Christian is thinking that he has this one now. Yeah. Not surprised. Now let's see. I think Boros. Boros is the thing to get if you can. Yeah, you can't really trigger it, you need to search the deck. And I don't think the Iron Train displays this for the opponent, so the opponent cannot be sure that you have genuinely taken something from the top 10 cards. You could do it manually, I guess, just to drag stuff in the discard pile and stuff like that, but okay, so timer paused for the players to take care of this. In the meantime, let's see what is left in terms of plots. So Greyjoy still has Morgulis, the second copy of Brand the Builder, and that crucial forced march that could have stopped any kind of quick comeback. And Tyrell, on the other hand, what have we not seen? We have not seen Political Disaster, we have not seen Turn yet, and Doc Harris. Political Disaster, I think, has been missed, kind of. The window is gone, and the other two plats are not helping. Yeah, slightly unfortunate, but what can you do? Strong suspicion that the game is decided, even with perfect draw. There is only 8 minutes remaining. Okay, the timer's now going crazy here. Not sure what we're supposed to be seeing here. Okay, so site has bugged a bit. It happens. So I was going to say with around 8 minutes remaining, we don't know which of these is correct now. I suppose it's the higher one. Greyjoy could just stall here. I don't mean stall with slow play. I mean stall with not letting unopposed through and defending power challenge, focusing on the power challenge as much as he can, and trying with that pike to disrupt the challenger's phase. I think it would be difficult for Superduck to get ahead in just 8 minutes of time. So that should be, let's say, 2 rounds of play. And then if Turney now does get some power, then there is still Morgulis on the other side for anything that is not duped. Queen of Thorns again doing this in marshalling. Triggering the Undercity. And 1 goal left. I think we might see a concession if nothing else is found here. Because she can just die on the military challenge and then it's 2 unopposed again. Or 3. And yeah, can return back to that father round. It looked like it couldn't really backfire. There was something like 4 characters in play, and then another one came into play. So to expose yourself to march to the wall with that seemed so unlikely. But if that was not the plot, and we would still have Knight of Flowers, and there was a dupe in hand, yeah, the game would be closer, I think, much closer. So that round, what could it have been instead? I guess another late summer feast or something, or a Harris. And I think Tyrell would have survived a little bit better. So she can go for the challenge, try to win, and we'll see what this is, if it's allowed into play. Boros, there was one, okay. Now what does he bring with him? No Fanatics played yet, so maybe cancel for Boros, but there is the red keep still. Okay, so he brings the Knight of Flowers. That's a bit of border, but what can they do? They can't attack, because then the unopposed just kills Superduck on the counter attack. It's not the worst card to get rid of. Could have actually been played, I think. Okay. Well, with just the Queen of Thorns in play, that's a decent board now. Decent board, to be fair. More than I expected. But is it enough to survive? And still happy to attack with both of them. What do you do if you're Greyjoy? I don't think this can turn the game around, so you could leave it, or you could just defend with both, even if there's some strength boost that yeah, makes you lose the challenge. You still win the game on the power totals if this one goes through. So if it wasn't open deck lists, I would be careful, but since Christian presumably studied the other deck before the game, he knows whether there is something to mess up his game here. Just quickly looking through the list, I'm not seeing it, so yeah, defending works, and leaving it would have worked too, I think. Okay, so Boros can come back with this, bring another character to then defend. Okay, and the Knight of Flowers as well, that would have gone to the discard pile, I think. Okay, and another character that can, in theory, bring something else into play, but yeah, now there is no more gold, so I think Maiden's Bane still in hand, right? So Pike can get rid of Boros without the threat of his coming back into play. But then again, there are no more characters to attack, so okay, Guildhall can trigger once. If you trigger, it goes to the opponent's shadow area, so maybe best to just leave it there. So what to do? I think the thing to do probably is just take dominance, and on 14 Hightower Knight would have been put into play, so Guildhall did trigger just to get rid of that. Okay, that's fair enough. Of course, it comes back now. It's going to annoy. It would have annoyed Christian for the rest of the game if the game wasn't over, but it's ending here, I think. And even with this, still wins dominance. Now, does he do military? This guy has renown, I guess better to just pass. Still has, yeah, if this guy kneels, I guess then you win dominance even if you use Pike, which he might want to do. Just bring in that Maiden's Bane, get rid of the Hollow Hill, just to be safe. But I think now the time has expired, the real time. So I think the players will end it here. Alright, so that comes in for free. Doesn't need to kneel pike for this one, so can still do the man's bane trick. But with the 2 triggers now, even wins him the challenge. Yeah, so just playing super properly until the very end here. Could have triggered pike even before the challenge was won, just to get rid of Boros, for instance, and cause something else to be killed, but yeah. Boros not the first choice anyway. And if the game continues, you don't want him back in hand, so that's all fine. Not using pike. Well, PD is still in the deck, so I guess keeping locations in hand not the worst idea either. And do we have the Hollow Hill trigger now? We do not, because there's a loyal character in play. I think the players will end it here, but even if they don't, I think we'll see forced march to win initiative. And then any challenge with Euron wins the game, right? Or any power challenge. Right, so go first. Kneel the crew, maybe just both of them. Yeah. And that leaves a standing Euron against standing Queen of Thorns. Yeah. He's a problem all by himself. Six gold remaining. Nothing in shadows, no ambush in Greyjoy. So just for the warships, I guess. Well, with 10 gold, it's possible to put on some kind of defense here. 7 cards. If they're non-characters, those are mostly decent cards too. So Grey Ghost, for instance, very strong here, although playing it in and out of shadows seems stronger. Maiden's Bane, we have Sea Beach, we have Silence as well. Yeah, Silence. Stand for Euron, a big trigger for Pike. Can't cancel everything, although maybe now with Redkeep, and we know that Guildhall is back. But that costs you, and Superduck also needs characters, otherwise he just loses on the against any kind of renown from Euron, or against any unopposed, or against any power claim. Thunder City has been digging all game, hasn't really found the exact answers that Superduck needed. And so if you have a good memory, you will know probably what this card is, because Clever Feint returned it. I think it's the Knight of Flowers, right? And the other one is a mystery. So Robert Strong, for instance, on Euron, on Theon, not that bad, but you need answers for both Theon and Euron here. He's not going to defend the power challenge, so Euron with 2 Iron Fleet Scouts. Or do you just try Theon first? Okay, he's going for the Intrigue challenge. That's okay, so potentially has fewer defenders, I guess, from his point of view, but Nightmares stops the win on that, because it can get rid of Renown, whereas Power Claim would have still won it, but okay. We have Grey Ghost, so now this will need to be cancelled, or additional defenders will need to come into play. Yeah, just a lot of answers here, and yeah, doesn't bother. I'm guessing a little bit that maybe Silence is one of the cards, doesn't bother with Pike for Silence. He just needs it for the 2-cost location, and that gets rid of the red keep, leaves the Guildhall in play to cancel a character ability, but it can't cancel the location ability of Grey Ghost. So what now? Penny in Shadows would work, or Boros in hand would work. Boros in Shadows would work. Still needs a Nightmares. Otherwise, Euron is too strong for them and has Renown. Yeah, can't have everything, but good effort to play basically with the reduced board and still put stuff into play. This deck is very good at doing that, but in the battle, who will disrupt the opponent and get rid of their board? That Father into Marched and then Pike in play. Yeah, Greyjoy did that a lot more successfully on this occasion. The last game that we saw of this Tyrell line deck, I think it was the other way around. I think it was also against Greyjoy, and on that occasion we had the Father and Pinch of Powder that did some good work, but not to be this time. And I believe that's now the score equalized at 1-1, and we should see a deciding game tomorrow afternoon, if I'm not mistaken. Let's have a look. So I unfortunately haven't been able to watch the first game yet, but if this is correct, then that one went to China. So Greyjoy Fealty for China on that one, and Martel. Okay, so that would be the full stack, right? And the third game between Xin Yuyi and Leonard Paga is, if this document is correct, is Assault from the Shadows against Lannister House with a red door, which promises to be an excellent game. So, alright. I don't think I will be streaming or recording that one. I think we have Zini doing that, but if not, you can probably find it on my channel. So let that be it for today. Hope you enjoyed it, and do join Zini for the final if you can.